Good day, everyone. I'm going to read to you the story, The Storybook Princess. It is written by Prum Kunthearo and illustrated by Seng Visoth. Listen carefully. Chanman is a child who likes listening to stories. His father always tells stories to him. Dad, I want to hear a story. Chanman says. His father begins. Once upon a time, a couple working as firewood choppers had 7 children. The youngest child was as small as a thumb. Chanman interrupts. Dad, why is he as small as a thumb? Because he eats very little and grows slowly. His father says. Why does he eat very little? Chanman asks. Because his family is poor. Chanman asks. Why are his older siblings normal? Now, do you want to hear the story or not? His father says. I want to, Chanman says, but I want to hear a different story. I know this story already. His father begins another story. Once upon a time, lakes and ponds dried out. A crow flew to find water. It saw a jar half full of water, and it drank the water in the jar. Chanman interrupts. Then the crow carried pebbles one by one. But wouldn't the crow get tired, Dad? Now, do you want to hear the story or not? His father asks. I want to, Chanman says, but I want to hear another story. I know this one already. Will you interrupt me again? His father asks. I promise I won't. Chanman says. Chanman's father opens the book again and starts reading another story. Once, the sun and the wind made a bet. Dad, why is the sun so hot? Chanman asks. Didn't you promise to stop interrupting me? His father says. I'm sorry. Chanman says. That's enough for tonight, son, his father says. I think you already know all these stories. Good night. Okay, Dad, Chanman says sadly. He hugs the book and falls asleep. That night, Chanman hears the sound of a book opening. He gets up to check. Chanman says to himself, Dad didn't make that noise. Hello? Chanman calls out. Who are you? Hello? The girl says. Little Finger. Chanman is curious. Strange. Your name is Little Finger? You're also strange, Ring Finger, she says. Chanman frowns. My name is not Ring Finger. He says. Where are you from? Middle Finger, she says, ignoring Chanman's question. Why don't you answer my question? Chanman asks. Index Finger, she says. What do fingers have to do with anything? Chanman says. Where are you from? Thumb, she says. Chanman feels angry. Why don't you answer my question? He says. Don't you like questions? I don't mean to bother you, but I would like my book back. Chanman takes the book from the girl. The girl smiles and says, Thank you for asking so many questions, even though I didn't answer them. I am a character in a story. Why didn't you answer my questions? Chanman asks. I am a princess who can't answer questions, the girl says. A witch put a curse on me that stops me from answering questions. Chanman becomes more curious. But why do you answer now? He asks. The girl responds with a smile. Because you asked more than 5 questions and broke the spell. That's more questions than the witch has fingers on her hand. Chanman smiles and asks, Why did you come here? I was bored, the princess says. I wanted to listen to your father's stories, but you interrupted him all the time. Chanman laughs because it was true. Chanman opens the book. If you want to listen, I will read you the story, he says. The princess replies excitedly, Really? I would love to hear a story. Chanman starts to read the story about the boy who was as small as a thumb. He reads the story and adds gestures with his hands. The princess listens carefully to every word. After a while, the princess begins to feel sleepy. Thank you for the story, she says, but I am sleepy now. Good night, princess, says Chamnan. I am sleepy as well. Chamnan and the princess both fall asleep. When Chamnan wakes up, the princess is gone. His father comes in the room. Son, what are you looking for? He asks. Nothing, Dad. Chamnan says, hurry up and get dressed for school. His father says. Chamnan smiles at the storybook, he eats breakfast, and then his father takes him to school. That night Chamnan says to his father, Dad, tonight I will tell you a story. What story? His father asks. The princess who can't answer questions, Chamnan says. Chamnan and his father have a very happy night.